to Funny Minds. I'm Lynn B. This is Edward Biss.
Hello.
How are you?
I'm fine, but it just occurred to me I'm in the middle of getting implants. I ought to put my teeth in. Hold on.
He's really a vampire.
There we go. Let me get rid of that. Okay.
In the world of food, it's very, very important to have some teeth, I think.
Well, it's actually, we went to a wedding a couple of weeks ago and we're at the reception and I'm thinking, should I take my teeth out to eat or should I just move the food around my plate? So
I have to ask you, since you're doing that, how was this whole process? Because when I go back to Jersey, I have to get it started. Is it?
Yeah, it's a huge expensive pain in the ass. It's $10,000. It's $10,000 before your dentist makes the actual implants. I mean, and it takes 8 months. And I had a great surgeon. I mean, the guy was fine, and we talked about food and all that. But it is a huge pain, to put it mildly.
Well, you want to enjoy your food.
Well, yeah, but I mean, there are milkshakes.
Oh God! Don't say milkshake unless you have one.
What the hell are those mics? They look dangerous.
Oh, these are podcaster mice.
Oh, so they feed a digitized signal. Everyone, I don't use Rode, but everyone uses Rode. Do you
who is our guest today, Eddie?
Well, we're going to welcome Mr. David Page to our show. Thank you, David, for joining us.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Yes,
absolutely, David. For our listeners, you're everything in the world of food, but more notably, creator of the hit TV show on the Food TV network, Diners, Drive-Ins, and Dives with Guy Fieri. And you also are a food critic, writer, author, everything that encompasses food. Welcome.
Yes.
Thanks for having me.
And, obviously that was a huge success, for you, Triple D. I don't know how much of that you want to discuss.
All of it, any of it, none of it. It's up to you guys.
I wanted to leave that up to you.
Yes.
That for me, that massive.
Journalistically, I'm a First Amendment absolutist. You can go any place you want.
Perfect.
Okay.
That's beautiful. But that was a huge show. That what a lot of folks don't realize is that food TV in one way, shape, or form has been around for quite some time.
Mm-hmm.
Back in the day of Julia Childs and the
I like the
Galloping
Gourmet.
Gourmet.
I loved him.
And as time went on, and other celebrity chefs came along, like Bobby Flay's. I remember his Grillin' and Chillin' show. Do you remember that one?
I don't, but I do remember at the beginning of the Food Network when they were so starved for content that they actually had something from Morley Safer. I don't know what it was. Morley was not dumping and stirring, but they had that. They also, who else did they have? They were scraping the barrel at the very beginning. And I mean, Morley's was a great journalist, but they any name they could get to put on the air that they went with.
How did you get into that? Were you already working with networks?
Well, I'd been a network producer for, I don't know, 3,000, 4,000 years. Okay. And I left the network.
Pretty good.
Yeah, not bad. The cars where you have to use your feet, the braking was tough. But I was line producing Good Morning America, which basically it means every third week, subject to the executive producer, the show is yours. And I was starting to see changes in network news that I didn't like. Not bias, not just in story selection to entice the audience. And the EP of the show came up to me one afternoon and said, there's going to be $1 million winner broadcast on The Millionaire tonight. He's booked in your first half hour for tomorrow. Now, the first half hour was supposed to be news. That's the moment I realized I needed to leave. So I left and I went through a brief and idiotic phase working for a home shopping channel. Set up my own production
Okay.
company, guys.
Were you down here together?
I wanted to be an executive at a publicly traded corporation and then realized, no, I don't. So I opened up my own production company and proceeded to starve. And no one was buying anything from me. So I called my old friend Al Roker, who has had and has a production
Oh.
company, but also Al had been on the Weekend Today show when I co-produced that. And we became friends. So I called him up. I said, hey, I'm starving out here. You got any work? And he said, why don't I subcontract to you some of the stuff I'm doing for the Food Network? And that's how I was introduced to the Food Network. After a while, and Al agreed, it became clear I wasn't going to buy a Bentley off being a subcontractor. So I started pitching the network directly. Still don't have that Bentley, by the way. And because I'd been doing stuff for them through Al, they knew who I was. And there was one executive who would kindly take my pitches and never say yes. I mean, I'd call and run down a bunch of stuff and she'd say, no, thank you. Finally, one day I'm on the phone with her. I had done for them a documentary on diners through Al's production company. And I'm on the phone, I'm pitching. She's saying no, she's saying no. Finally, I think she takes pity on me. She says, do you have anything else about diners? And I said, oh, absolutely. I'm working on this. I'm developing a show called Diners, Drive-Ins, and Dives. And I proceeded to tell her all about it. And she said, for the first time since I'd been pitching her, she said, that sounds good. Get us a write-up for a 1-hour special on Monday. We have a development meeting on Tuesday. And I got off the phone, feeling good because she'd said yes, but feeling somewhat stressed because I didn't have a show called Diners, Drive-Ins, and Development. I had pulled the name out of thin air and then I BS'd my way through a description. That happened late on either a Thursday or a Friday, like 6 p.m. I spent the weekend calling around, and by Monday I had written up a show proposal, and they bought a special, and then that turned into a series.
Wow.
Now, did you have Guy factored in there previously, or did that?
I didn't know who the hell Guy was. When they said they'd take a special, I said, great, should we discuss a possible host? And they said, no, we want you to use Guy Fieri.
Oh, so they already had him in mind.
Okay.
Yeah, see, here's what had happened. He had won their Food Network Star Contest.
Yes.
Back when they still thought naively that contest was going to generate their next round of stars. In fact, Guy's the only one who's ever gone on to anything that mattered after the contest. But they were looking to make him a star, and they were looking for a primetime vehicle for him. They weren't looking to me for that. They had asked a couple of major production companies to pitch a series. And in the meantime, they figured, what the heck? If this kid wants to do a special with him, we'll keep him on the air. So fine, we did that. They then got their pitches from the big boy production companies. They didn't like them, and they had nothing for Guy, so they took a chance on me. Remember, I am my production company at that point, in my basement. So
that's all right.
Yeah, that's fine. They bought a short series, not expecting big things at all. After the second or third episode, when it was clear this was a hit, they tried to tamp down my enthusiasm by telling me that, look, this is all exciting, but we don't really think this show has more than a couple of seasons in it because, hey, there just aren't that many restaurants. Now I left after the 11th season, and they're now in season 40 something. So yeah. I guess there were enough restaurants.
Yes. You think about this whole United States, there's plenty of them.
just a
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, look, screenwriter William Goldman, before he passed away, wrote a brilliant book. Well, he wrote several brilliant books, but his first book was called Adventures in the Screen Trade, about his years in Hollywood. And Goldman's rule, as explained in the book, with respect to why projects work, why they don't work, why they get picked up, why they don't get picked up. His Goldman's rule is simply no one knows anything.
Okay. So absolutely nobody knows anything about the industry.
When
Nothing.
you look, programming executives will tell you this is going to work for this reason or this work for it's all a crap shoot. TV is about connecting with the audience in a way that makes them happy, and that's
So
on
you're
an
gonna throw
individual.
you're gonna throw it the proverbial poop against the wall and see what happens.
Pretty much, but you need cleanable wallpaper.
Well, I think it's kind of like that with a lot of industries. You get these bigwigs who wind up in a position of authority, and they feel it's because they know everything about everything. When
Yeah.
it's really not true. We know.
Hey, nothing wrong with failing up or being lucky.
True.
That's
Very true.
true.
Very true.
So you're the mastermind of the food industry and what's going on with food and.
Well, that is a vast overstatement, but I will gladly take it.
I will gladly. I'm very happy to give it, but I mean, there's so many. Every day there's a new diet. There's a new way of losing weight. There's a new way of toning up. There's a new, like, what is your feeling on all of this? Like, what do you?
There are two important things that recently, and I have a weight problem, so I speak to it as someone with skin in the game. A recent report, study that found, if I'm recalling this correctly, that the impact of genetic predisposition to being heavy is far more important than people realize. And number two, I don't know what I think about the recent recommendation by, I don't know if it was JAMA or it was a large medical group recommending much more stringent concentration on childhood obesity, up to and including the use of drugs and or bariatric surgery for
a child?
patients as young as 13. I mean, look, we have a massive obesity epidemic in the country.
Mm-hmm.
To a great extent, I guess it's because we eat so poorly, although define poorly. I mean, is it having an overly large portion of a healthy food like roast chicken, or is it eating hamburgers? Even if you calorie count your McDonald's, I mean, it's a highly confusing subject area. I think one of the interesting factors that comes to mind now and then is the myth that exercise is a major contributor to weight loss. Scientists report that, in fact, exercise can increase the amount you eat, partially because you've burned calories and your body wants them, and partially because once you feel virtuous, what the hell, let's have that piece of cheesecake. It's not, cheat year. It's not just, well, let me put it this way. Beyond obesity, as someone who is very interested in how we eat, why we eat, I like to eat, I'm fascinated by the way we eat, just in terms of eating should be, in my view, more than fuel. It should be enjoyable. And I'm distressed by the degree to which Americans don't seem to want to cook anymore, even though it's pretty damn simple. I mean, someone will sit on the couch, watch 6 hours of Food Network television, and then put in something in the microwave. There's this huge industry sending pre-portioned packets of pepper to people's houses with ingredients when cooking should be much more basic and much more simple. I mean, it takes 20 minutes to make a roast chicken in terms of prep, and then you stick it in the oven and you walk away and come back. I wish more people would take the time to make real meals that would make them and their families happy.
Yeah, I mean, for not only that reason, but bring your family together, which you lose a lot of these days.
Well, that's a tough job these days, and when they are together,
Yeah.
it's a tough job to keep people off the phone. But
Yeah, it's damn near impossible.
they
You got
can
two
call
parents.
each other.
You got two parents working and so much going on, and it's very hard to have that family dinner. We always had it, but our
But
circumstances were different. So
there's so many ways. You're working all week, great. On Sunday, while you're watching football, take some short ribs, throw them in a pot with some potatoes, onions, carrots, and crushed tomatoes. Put the heat down as low as you can and go away for 3 hours. I mean, it's not that hard.
You're absolutely right. I mean, there's a simplicity to it. I think there's so much on the Food Network these days. It's an overdose, and you could really get wrapped up in the uber chef approaches, and you know how deep they get into and how they overanalyze everything and the beauty and the this and that. And
making the chef such a big star, frankly, doesn't help cooking. It's generated a tremendous amount of interest in people who want to be celebrity chefs. They're not cooking because they have a deep need to do so, or what real great chefs have a sense of making people feel good. They want to be TV stars. It's no different in TV news these days. I mean, you've got a whole generation of kids who just want to be on TV. The journalism was not the first thing that motivated them in the crib. But
not at all.
In fact, the closing of Noma, the restaurant in Copenhagen that has frequently been called the best in the world, has opened up a whole discussion among food lovers about the absurdity of what high-end fine dining has become. I mean, I've never been an advocate of the tasting menu. It ain't a meal. When I want a meal, I want, 3, maybe 4 courses of food in a volume that's satisfying. I don't want a litany. And look, I've had some terrific tasting menus. It's great. As a one-off, as an occasional weird thing to do, that's great. But if I had the money, I still couldn't see myself becoming a regular at a place like Alinea, because it's an art show. It's a performance.
Yeah, right.
It's not a meal.
So
and by the way, I was treated to a meal at Alinea when we were considering doing a show with the chef there, Grant Achatz, and he's a genius, and it was an extraordinary event. And each of the most of the little tasting things were good, although he did something interesting in the middle. He in the middle of his bizarre compositions, he came out with a plate of beef done in the style of Escoffier, kind of like Picasso saying, I could do portraits before I decided everyone should have both eyes on the same side of their nose.
So it's the presentation. They're into the presentation.
It's just, give me a meal. That's all.
Yeah. I see, I was always a big fan of Gordon Ramsay. Obviously, because he was entertaining.
Oh, of course he was.
But there was always times where he would step away and he would truly show these kids how to execute something very simple.
Yes, but
that's what I enjoyed the most, because I could identify with it because I could do it.
Well, the old saw in the industry is the 2 tests of a chef are an omelet and roast chicken.
Yeah.
I need to say Gordon Ramsay is possibly the worst thing to ever happen to the restaurant industry. All this screaming. Well, no, but it's on the one hand, it's funny when you see it on the show. On the other hand,
Yeah, it's
This is an
entertaining.
industry that is beset by abuse, mental health issues, sexual harassment. There is no
Yeah, that's
reason
Oh,
for back of the house life in the restaurant industry to be as, pardon me, shitty as it is. The higher up you go in terms of the more expensive the restaurant, circumstances can get worse. They Many restaurants exploit people. Many high-end restaurants exist on
mhm.
the backs of unpaid intern-like help known as stages. This is not a good thing. I was reading online that what's his name? Mario Batali is
Oh
investing.
yeah.
He's investing in restaurants again. So I guess he's
Oh,
done
is
his
he?
apparently he's done his penance for being an ass, and now he gets
I
paid.
just watched that story about him the other day.
Yeah, I mean, look, the back of the house in the restaurant industry is a crisis. It's 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 um it's horrible in many, many.
I think Gordon was a lot of it was putting on a show.
Oh, of course, he was putting on a show, but that's the
But it
inspiration for
doesn't
how we.
help the
Come
industry.
on,
Yeah,
don't yell at people. That's
yeah,
just
Yeah.
the myth.
It's so degrading. It's
Well,
really degrading.
yeah, the mythologizing that goes on around. Yes, chef. Come on.
we should.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yes, master. Yes, master.
The
Whatever you
yeah.
biggest
say.
branch is possible.
I let
Um,
like I spent my life, raising kids, so we had a meal every night, and something I made because my position was I was able to be there, be home to make that meal ahead of time.
mhm.
Now I'm a single person. I'm all by myself, and I find that sometimes I'll make something, I'll do a couple of stuffed peppers, so I'll have it twice during the week or something like that. But for the most part, I just don't feel like cooking for myself a lot of times. For one
Well, look,
person, I just like,
you spent decades with it as a job,
yeah,
and look, food is something that, as much as anything else, is a shared experience with other people. It's tough to cook for one.
yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm very happy when, I said they should make meals for one, but real meals that not this processed nonsense that because that's not what I want to eat. I don't want processed
Well,
food.
what's your favorite dish?
Oh, corned beef and cabbage. I'm Irish all the way, so corned beef, cabbage, potatoes. That's uh, and I
See,
just
and every
love it.
ethnicity is so close. I'm Jewish. I want pastrami. Okay, which is a different
On
form
rye,
of corned
on
beef, but
real rye, on
yeah,
a
of
New
course,
York deli rye.
damn straight.
Yeah, would have to say that's my favorite dish. I'm not a big beef eater.
Mhm.
Um, Very rarely will I go order a steak anywhere or something, it's chicken or,
Well, if you can order
you
a
know.
steak, you got to get a mortgage.
You're right.
Mhm.
Salads, and I'll just put a whole lot of things in my salads, a lot of things to make me happy. And I'm a soup person. I'll love making, a good healthy soup with a lot of vegetables
Loves.
and stuff in it. I love it,
People are either soup people or they're not. I'm
Oh,
not.
I am.
My wife is.
Hmm.
Uh, it's fascinating. She can make a meal out of soup, and I
Oh,
think
me too. Hmm.
it's liquid. I might as well just have a
Or
drink.
I can have breakfast for dinner. It's not
No,
a big deal for me.
breakfast for dinner
Yeah.
is good.
That's
Oh
very
yeah,
good.
I'll
it's delicious.
I'll make a frittata for dinner.
Mhm.
Um, with whatever I have in the refrigerator, but usually some kind of sausage or bacon and all these vegetables. And the key to me in a frittata is potatoes. You gotta, it's
Yeah.
similar to,
I
not as
had
good as,
potatoes.
but
Yes.
similar to what the Spaniards call a tortilla, which is that omelet they make
Hmm.
full of
Yes.
potatoes.
Yes.
That something about that just does it.
The ironic thing is she's a better cook now than she was when I was a
Oh, he's so full of bull.
kid.
Oh, the pressure's
Now she
off.
can cook. Back then it
See,
was
my
like,
mother was the world's worst cook. I used to say, people would ask, do you eat well growing up? I said, no, when it comes to cooking, my mother was a great accountant.
There you go.
I always loved the Eddie Murphy skit he did about the welfare burger when kids getting McDonald's. And
No.
his mom would say, "You're not having McDonald's. I'll make you a better burger than McDonald's. Go get the chopped meat and the onion and the pepper." And he would
Well,
crack and
but
have the grease.
you know what's interesting? The the version of burgers made specifically in a way because of poverty is extensive throughout the United States. The Oklahoma onion burger, for example, which came
Hmm.
out of the Dust Bowl days, where the meat is extended by making the burger half out of onions. There are similar burgers with other fillers in other parts of the country. It ain't like Hamburger Helper invented the idea of stretching a burger,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
an awful
Never
lot
made that.
regional specialties came out of specific poverty.
I would never like if we had a barbecue, I would never buy those frozen burgers. I called them hockey pucks.
They were.
I would get the meat and make my own burgers to go on because I said, no, I'm not buying those hockey pucks. I don't know what's in them. I
Well,
haven't the slightest idea.
beyond that, first of all, most of them are a combination of meat from all over the place, including other countries. But beyond that, when I go to the supermarket, I make sure to check with the butcher which of the chopped meat was ground by them,
Yes,
because the
yes,
chance of that being contaminated with E. coli is much lower because
yes.
they're at least handling cuts of meat that I assume are clean.
Right.
That's all I'll buy. Or I'll go to
Yeah.
my butcher. I mean, I have a butcher and he's great.
Hmm.
But if I'm in the supermarket, I always ask.
Well, growing up, with having four children, I had a stand-up freezer. We would go to the butcher and get a whole cow cut up, wrapped, labeled, whatever, same with the pig. And so you knew where this was coming from and you knew who was taking care of it and you knew the meat was good.
But
So,
having a butcher is such an important thing, in my view. A guy or woman to whom you can say, I want to do something with a cheap cut, so I assume I'm braising. What do you recommend and how should I
mhm,
do it?
mhm.
To whom a guy you can ask questions of. When we lived
Yes.
in northern New Jersey,
Oh, you
kind
live
of.
in northern New Jersey.
No, I live in southern Jersey now, but we used to live in Glen Ridge.
Oh,
And Glen
okay.
Ridge, Bloomfield Avenue takes you from Glen Ridge to Newark, and
Yes.
is
Bloomfield
pretty
Avenue.
much
Yes.
looks like some scenes from The Sopranos. And I
Yeah.
had an old line Italian butcher shop
Oh,
on
yeah.
Bloomfield
Mhm.
Avenue. And like I called the guy one day, I said, I don't want to make rack of lamb. You got it? He said, yeah, I got it. So I go there. I say, I called about he said, all right, okay. He goes into the walk-in. He comes out with a lamb carcass
Mm-hmm.
and starts whacking away.
Yeah.
Now that's how I want. I've got
That's
a
what you
butcher
want.
now. I got a butcher now
Yeah.
in South Jersey who dry ages his own beef.
Oh,
It's fantastic.
that's
Just
incredible. That's
fantastic.
incredible. When you find a good butcher, I mean,
Oh,
it's
yeah.
everything. Well, we grew up in Bergen County, New Jersey, right down the
Mhm.
Yeah.
park, so we weren't that far. But I spent some years in the city and also in Brooklyn. And at one point, I lived in Bensonhurst, Brooklyn, which is like a
Mhm.
place trapped in time. And my God, I could just go to 18th Ave and walk in any one of those shops,
Right.
butcher shops or the meat and cheese shops. It was dinner. You walk
Oh,
out.
you find a good cheese shop. Ooh.
Mm,
Oh,
We
yeah.
have a place. We just moved off the island to the mainland, but we lived on Long Beach Island forever. And
Okay. I
there's a
love LBI.
it's
Oh,
I love being on the mainland now on the bay looking at LBI.
okay.
But there is a cheese shop in Beach Haven that's extraordinary. And I found out from the owner the reason is it's a little satellite operation of a New York cheese store. I think it's called
Okay.
Fourchette. Yeah, Fourchette. I'm giving them an ad. And
Oh,
they have
wow.
they just have some extraordinary stuff. And it's a shame people don't understand what good versions of so much of what they eat taste like.
Not at
Cheese
all.
wrapped in plastic, sold to you by Sorrento. Sorry, Sorrento. Go
That's okay.
try the real thing.
Yes.
And by the way, you don't have to go to a specialty shop. I got a shop right out here in Manahawkin that
Yeah,
has a great
exactly.
cheese buyer, and
Exactly.
they carry Gran Padano, which is my favorite for like cacio e pepe, and it's a very hard cheese to find. They have it regularly. I mean, you can find. You got to look. You got to give a damn. You got to care.
Same thing with the breads.
Oh, yeah, bread. It's funny, you forget too. I make a pretty damn good Philadelphia roast pork sandwich, with
with the broccoli rabe?
With the broccoli rabe
Yes.
and
yeah.
and the prove. And I made it the other day, and I had picked up fresh bread that day. I often make it with bread that I've had in the freezer. And I reminded myself what a damn difference there is if you just have that day's bread, especially in South Jersey where the bread's good. Well,
yeah, you go down south and forget it. It's horrible. Horrible. They don't know how to make it.
I take a whole pork tenderloin, salt, pepper, oregano, a little stock in the pan so it doesn't dry out. And I do that baby at 425.
Do you sear it before you roast it?
No, I don't buy the searing thing. The scientific evidence says that searing looks good, but it doesn't lock in juices. It doesn't. You get the Maillard reaction. That's fine. In fact, on beef, I've gone the other way these days. I've become a firm advocate of the reverse sear. You familiar with that?
Yeah.
Okay. Because here's what happens. When you sear meat, when you throw it in a pan, the two sides that hit the hot pan, they overcook. You get that gray ring side. There's no way that's going to be medium rare. Then you have a section inside that, if you're lucky, you get to medium rare. If you reverse sear, similar to sous vide, you cook it at a very low temperature. It cooks evenly. The whole thing is pink. Then if you want the feel of a sear, you take it out, you throw it in a super hot pan, one side, flip it, but you sear at the end.
Exactly.
I've completely gone to the reverse sear.
Sous vide has kind of changed the game quite a bit.
Well, it's
heavily used.
First of all, the problem with sous vide is it's a pain in the ass. I don't do it. That's why I do reverse sear. But the scientific concept of bringing your food to a specific temperature and no more, unlike in an oven where the heat continues, is brilliant. I actually, I did a show called Beer Geeks, which was about craft beer, and it mixed beer and food. I saw a guy sous videing in a food truck.
Wow.
And he was sous videing in beer. It was fantastic. Just fantastic.
The reverse sear. Wow. I got to try that. But I did, it's funny. You just made that. I just made that like a week and a half ago.
Did you?
Yep.
Oh, my son is a very good cook.
I love it.
Very, very good cook.
I've been more and more playing with cheap cuts. Going back to braising and other methods of not having to spend $21 a pound on something.
Right.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
I've been doing a lot of short ribs. I've been doing a lot of steak salads made out of a low and slow cooked cheap cut.
Yeah.
Okay.
Tenderize the meat.
That's interesting.
Get it where you want, and then throw it into a salad with some good blue cheese. But not those
making us so
not
hungry.
the damn crumbles. You see them on the shelf in the supermarket, crumbles. They're like made of petroleum.
Gorgeous. You know what I had once that blew me away, and it's obviously just the stupidest, simplest thing ever, was a blue cheese coleslaw. That goes very well with
Excellent.
barbecue.
Excellent.
I had it with Danish baby back ribs, bourbon baked beans, and a blue cheese coleslaw.
I'm coming to
Fantastic.
your place.
You have to.
I'll be right over. Well, how do you do baby backs?
Well, I got it at a restaurant, but if I was to do them, you know, I don't really good. They don't go right to the grill or anything like that. I just season them and I wrap them and slow cook them. And
You
then
know
maybe-
what? This is so bizarre. I'll play around. If I'm not at real low heat, I'm at real high heat.
Mhm.
I was motivated by the Rendezvous in Memphis, which people will say, I'm not sure they're right, but people will say have the best ribs in Memphis. And
Okay.
unlike the traditional way of barbecuing in the world of barbecue, which is low and slow,
Yes.
they put those on high direct heat.
Mhm.
And I've been playing around at home with ribs in the oven at 500. And I got news for you. It's great.
Wrapped or unwrapped?
Unwrapped.
Unwrapped. Okay.
Unbelievable. I don't want to steam them. I'm not a fan of wrapping.
Mhm.
You just salt and pepper them, throw them in there at 500, take them out before they dry out. It is the easiest meal at home.
Oh God.
Yeah, really
And
good.
they're really tender?
They're fantastic.
Really?
Well,
I
look,
love ribs.
it's a very fatty cut. You just see, people overcook pork. The USDA now says pork is safe to eat at a much lower temperature than chicken. It's closer to beef because trichinosis, I guess, has gone away. But you can take pork out at 145 and be happy. You know, you got to take chicken at 165. So you don't have to overcook ribs. That's a big fallacy.
Huh.
Yeah,
I will now get
everybody's always
sued by
focused
someone
on
who
that.
gets trichinosis, but
I
luckily I
Yeah,
married my
don't
lawyer.
blame you.
You know, fall off the bone. That's always the big phrase that they want to hear, fall off the bone. But really, you just want a good bite out of a
Yeah, it
rib.
shouldn't fall. I got to tell you, I spent time at the Memphis in May barbecue competition for my book, and people are adamant. The judges are adamant. Ribs should not fall off the bone. They should be tender. They should be moist. But you want a little pull. You want a little.
One pull. Yeah,
yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah.
But tell us about your book. You just talked about your book.
Oh, I my book is called Food Americana. Go to Amazon and buy it because I just finished paying for my daughter to go to grad school. And buy 30 or 40 copies of it. The premise, the question the book asks and hopefully answers is, what is American cuisine? We think we know what French food is. We think we know what Italian food is, Chinese. And by the way, we're wrong in all of those instances because most cuisines are regional, not national. But anyway,
Right.
What is American cuisine? And I came to the researched conclusion that much like the stereotypical statement that America is a melting pot, our food is. We've created a cuisine out of foods of other countries and cultures that were brought here that then evolved and modified and changed to the point where they are no longer, in many cases, what's eaten in the country of origin, which doesn't make them bad or inauthentic. It makes them part of a cuisine of our own, made up of elements like Chinese American, Mexican American,
Right.
sushi done the way we do sushi, and a pizza, for example. And I was very careful in trying to determine what are the cuisines, the elements of our cuisine that are available and that people think about every day as a real possibility, which is why I include sushi in American cuisine. I don't include Thai food. I don't include. These are not everyday go-tos for everyone everywhere. But you can get sushi at a gas station in. But you don't understand sushi. It doesn't have to have fish.
I could live on it.
Sushi is only about the vinegared rice. You can have sushi with no fish at all. You can have sushi with no protein at all. And you're making that face, but you're wrong.
I know. I know. I know.
That's okay. That's all
I
right.
feel your pain, dude.
It's all right. Okay. And by the way, I'm not a huge sushi fan, not to the extent my wife or daughter are, but it can be good. I'm not.
It's better if you find the right place that works for you.
Well, of course,
Yeah.
but you can find the right place anywhere. Sushi is now, high quality sushi is now available all across the country.
I think there's more
Oh,
sushi
yeah.
than there is Walgreens and CVS.
And there's so many places you go into that there's a sushi bar there.
Yeah.
You'll go into a Mexican restaurant and they got a sushi bar there.
I'm not a big fan of the Asian restaurants that mix sushi with Chinese, since that's like mixing New York Jewish and Bolivian. I mean, they have nothing to do with each other, but that's okay.
Bolivian matzo ball soup.
Right.
Good matzo balls are hard to find.
Hey, New York City.
Now, actually, Hobby's Deli in Newark.
Oh, yeah?
Hobby's in Newark is one of the oldest delis in America. It's on everyone's top 10 list. I was taken there for the first time by the owner of a bagel company I was going to interview for my book, who insisted we meet at Hobby's. And man, that was good. Really good.
Wow.
I mean, it's a real place. This place has kishka. It's
okay.
Yeah, it's across from wherever the hockey rink is in Newark down.
Oh, Prudential Center.
Yeah, it's near there. But I mean, it's Formica heaven. I mean, it's what a deli ought to be.
Good.
Yeah.
Well, David, we're gonna have to say goodbye.
Oh, so soon?
Our time is up.
Okay.
You are a very, very interesting man. I love everything that you had to say, and
how kind
you can come
of
and
you.
cook for me anytime.
I'll be right over.
Just run right over. Well, I'm in Jersey. I'm in Mount Arlington. You can come up and cook for me.
Well, you could come down here. We're on the water.
Okay.
That's a
That
deal.
sounds good. I'll go.
If he had to explain to his wife that he was going to your house for
that wouldn't be too good.
No, we like to entertain. We bought this house recently because I can talk to guests from the open kitchen while we're hanging out.
And that's great. That's great. But I really appreciate you being on the show, because so many people, are really interested in food and the correct way to take care of food and what you should eat. And I'm sure and I'm gonna get your book. I'll read your book.
Please. By the way, just so you know, I'm not a purist. We're going on a road trip to visit some friends in Michigan, and I'm already thinking about buying junk food and a big gulp. And I warned my wife, I said, on a road trip, you throw all the wrappers in the back.
That's funny.
Yeah, to get up there and get some cheese curds.
Well, thank you very much, David, and I'm sure the audience is going to love this show. And go to funnyminds.com. You can find us. You can go to Spotify right from funnyminds.com, and we're on all major platforms. But I'd also like to mention that two of the organizations that we love are on the website, and it's St. Jude's Children's Hospital and breast cancer, and we have a little donate button, so everybody can go onto the donate button. We have a store if you want to buy some of our crazy stuff, and if there's anything that you like, you don't like, leave us a message, or somebody you'd like to see on the show, leave us a message. We'd be glad to answer you. We answer anybody. Our emails are on there, so you can do it. We take it. We can take it.
And David, thank you. It's a pleasure. I'm really glad.
Thank you very much for having me. I had a good time.
Wonderful.
Keep cooking.
Next time I get up to Jersey to perform or do anything, I'm gonna have to come find you. And buy his book, Taste of Americana.
And
I'm sorry?
Your book, Taste of Americana?
No, not Taste of. It's Food Americana.
Food Americana.
Oh.
You gotta get
Food
Gotta
Americana.
get that right.
Buy 10
Food
copies in
Americana. Buy
penance.
the book on Amazon.
Okay,
David
everybody.
Page, thank you so much.
Everybody
Thank
have
you.
a great day. Be healthy, be safe, and always smile. Bye-bye.
Bye.